Welcome back to another episode of The Lawyer You Know, and today I'm going to tell you how to crush an interview with a law firm. Interviewing with a law firm is a specific kind of interview. It's different than most interviews because you're being interviewed by a lawyer, and a lawyer is a specific kind of beast. They ask questions and get answers for a living. They read people for a living. This is what they do. So you need to come into that interview prepared. And the first tip for crushing an interview with a law firm is do your research. Do your research on the firm that you're interviewing with, the person interviewing you, and the geographic location of the firm you're interviewing for. This is really important because usually ahead of time, law firms will tell you, this is the lawyer, this is the partner that's going to be interviewing you. You can look them up online. You can see what practice area they handle. You can see where they went to law school. You can see where they went to college. You can see where they're from. Lots of times they say, John Smith grew up in this community and his family's lived here for generations and they do this, that, and the other. Look at the personal things that they have in the description of the person that's going to be interviewing you, because this is going to help a ton with the second tip, which is make connections. As part of your research, you're going to find out what this firm specializes in, some of their signature cases, some of their big settlements or lawsuits or cases that they've handled in the past. You want to make as many connections as you can between yourself and that interviewer. If you guys went to the same law school, as I've talked about before, that's key. You can talk about professors, you can talk about classrooms, you can talk about the libraries you went to, you can talk about the restaurants on campus you frequent or the bars you'd go to. That's a great connection. But you can also look to see if they were on mock trial, if you were on mock trial, or moot court, or part of a journal, and you can bring up that experience and try to make a connection between you and the interviewer. Make sure you do your research in order to make those connections. Because if it's a practice area that you're interested in, you want to make that connection with the law firm and the interviewer. If it's a practice area that you handled a specific kind of problem in your legal research and writing class, you want to talk about that problem and how it's the exact practice area that this firm handles, how you attacked that issue, what you would do if it was a real life situation. If you did a mock trial on a specific practice area that this firm handles, you want to bring that up. If you were a civil defense lawyer in a mock trial and you're interviewing to be a civil defense lawyer at a civil defense firm, you want to bring up that experience and highlight it in order to make that connection with the interviewer. And the best way to do this is tip number 3, highlight your strengths. So when you're making that connection based on the research, you want to make sure you're focusing on your strengths. Bring up the positive things you've done so far in your career, whether it be in law school or clerking at a firm or a previous job that you had. Make sure you're highlighting that without bragging. Don't tell them, oh, I booked this class, this class, I'm so smart, I do so great, I've got a photographic memory. Don't do any of that. What you should do is say, I'm really interested in employment law. That's why I really buckled down, did my best, and I ended up getting the best grade in the class. I was shocked. Highlight that strength. Highlight something that you succeeded in law school so that they know, but you also are making that connection and showing you've done the research between yourself and the firm you're interviewing for. Another example, if it's a criminal defense firm and you booked criminal law, you can say, I loved my crim law class. My crim law professor was awesome. I actually ended up interviewing and being his research assistant because I booked his class. That's a great highlight that you were a research assistant in the criminal law class. You booked that class. You're making those connections based on your research and you're highlighting your strengths. If you're interviewing in the community you're from, highlight that. I was born and raised in this community. I want to put my roots down here. I want to be here long term. This is the place I want to be. This firm has been here forever. I want to be a part of that legacy. Lawyers love to hear that stuff. They love to hear about legacy. They love to hear you pump up what a great firm they have and how you'd be honored to work there and to carry on that legacy. Pump up those expectations of the lawyer that they would have in you. Be confident. Don't be scared of putting expectations on yourself. Be confident. Tell them you would love to carry on their legacy and you chose this firm for that specific reason. You'll be able to do that if you do the research and you know what type of firm it is. If it's a firm that's been there for 40 years, if it's a firm that has family ties to the community or has been there forever, you can make that connection. And it's really important to make as many connections as you can throughout that interview so they'll remember you. You won't just be another number who was ranked here from this law school. You'll actually be the person that said, yeah, I want to work at this firm for this reason, that reason, or the other. Tip number 4 is to have a positive outlook. A lot of lawyers are jaded, a lot of law students are jaded, and they come into these interviews and they say, yeah, I don't know why I'm going to be a lawyer. The interviewer may even say to you, you picked the wrong profession. You've got a long, hard look ahead of you. Don't agree with them. Don't fall into that. Have a positive outlook. Talk about how much you enjoyed your law school experience or clerking experience. Even if you didn't enjoy all of it, pick out the parts and highlight the parts you did enjoy. Oh, I loved my civil procedure professor. Oh, I loved mock trial. Oh, I loved doing the law review. It was so great to be voted editor from my classmates. Highlighting something great, highlighting a strength of yours, but also having a positive outlook. Also say you're really looking forward to making a difference in this community, or you're looking forward to making a difference for the clients that you represent. You're really looking forward to this. You're really looking forward to that. You're so happy you chose this profession. Because lawyers want to be around other lawyers that enjoy their job, enjoy their profession. It shows you have a long-term outlook and you could be a long-term fit. And it shows you're going to be somebody who's enjoyable to be around in the office. Not another person complaining about billable hours. Not another person complaining about how the world is against us and everybody hates lawyers and it's going to be so miserable to be a lawyer. Positivity is contagious. Be positive. Have a positive outlook. Say, this firm is doing so many great things. I can't wait to be a part of it. Positivity in the interview will go a long way. And the last thing, I have it couched under the tip of ask questions, but the most important thing to notice is if you're talking throughout the entire interview, that's probably not a good thing. Let the interviewer ask you questions so you can know what they want to hear about you and you can give them these great answers. You can show you've done your research. You can make those connections and you can highlight your strengths. Make sure they're asking you questions and you're not talking the whole time. And a great way to do that is to, if you feel like you've just been talking and talking and talking and they can't get a word in edgewise, stop and ask them a question. Lawyers love to hear themselves talk. They love to talk about their accomplishments and to talk about themselves. So use that opportunity to pause and break up your own voice going over and over again and ask them a question. What was it like when you interviewed here? What's your experience been like at this firm? What was your law school experience like? What advice would you give me when looking for my first job and interviewing at these firms? Ask them questions. Give them a chance to talk because, again, they will enjoy that interview. An enjoyable interview is when both parties keep talking the entire time and it just flies by. You're not pulling teeth. One person's not talking for 15 minutes straight while the other one's falling asleep. So make sure you have some questions ready that you can ask them. And don't make them canned questions. Don't make them boring questions that everybody asks at every interview. Make them specific to that law firm and to that lawyer that's interviewing you because, again, you can show off that you've hit all the tips. You've done your research, you've made the connections, and you've highlighted your strengths. You can also highlight the strengths of the interviewer because, like I said, nobody likes to hear about themselves like a lawyer. So make sure you bring in some positivity about that lawyer that's going to be interviewing you. And if you don't know who's interviewing you, I encourage you to reach out to that firm and ask them, hey, do you know who's going to be interviewing me? And if they give you a list of 3 or 4 potential partners that may be interviewing you, do the research on all of them. Make sure you're prepared for whoever may sit across from you at that table and interview you. So throughout this process, you will crush the interview if you do your research in order to make connections and highlight your strengths throughout this interview and you keep a positive outlook and make sure you're not the one talking the whole time. Ask them some questions. Those are tips that will make you crush an interview at a law firm. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. But what I really would love to see in the comments is some of your worst interview experiences. We've all been through bad interviews, sometimes at a law firm, sometimes before we even went to law school or college. Just drop an experience that you had that was very uncomfortable or hilarious, or maybe an awesome interview and you just want to share that experience. Leave it in the comments and make sure you hit the like button and the subscribe button so you can be here for more content like this because we love to give tips to future lawyers in order to help them, A, have a positive outlook because I love what I do. I love being a lawyer, never wanted to be anything else. Want to make sure that I can just keep progressing in this profession and want to make sure I can help as many people as I can that have the same dreams as I do. So make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're looking for more content about becoming a lawyer.